Hi, I'm Jo Rogers. I'm a lawyer and the founder of Navistar Legal. I've worked as an in-house lawyer for businesses of all sizes for most of my career. I've worked for the big corporates and I've worked for the little startups and some in between. In my experience, the big businesses get involved with smaller businesses like you through sponsorship programs, service agreements, or partnership agreements. For the larger business, it is just business as usual, no big deal. For you, it is a big deal. If it went wrong, it could cause you great trouble and cause you substantial or financial reputational damage to your business. So here's the scenario. You've been in business for a while, you've been pitching your idea and your business, and you get this big sponsor lined up. You are over the moon until it occurs to you that you are only little and this partner has many more resources to hand. And therefore they have more negotiating power. The sponsorship team are wonderful. They tell you though that their procurement team will send standard terms of business. And it's at this point you suddenly realize you don't want to sign up to terms that will cripple your business. Other than engaging an expensive lawyer, you don't know how to get the confidence you need as to the cautions you need to take before you sign this contract. That is the point of this series, to give you the tools you need to negotiate this contract confidently and understand the terms to definitely remove and those to add in. This first video will teach you some precautionary due diligence. This is a process to make sure you have the facts about exactly who you are dealing with. If they're a well-known corporate, this may not be as relevant, but sometimes perception can be deceiving. So we do want to more accurately assess the risks of the agreement and the person that you're about to enter into an agreement with. At this point, you may want to download the Due Diligence Partner Questionnaire. It's a document on our website that allows you to take each partner, client, or sponsor and make sure that appropriate checks have been made on them. Let's spend a little time looking at the pre-contract checks. Many big businesses have comprehensive onboarding or procurement procedures. This is to determine whether a person or a business that they are dealing with is solvent, legitimate, and in good legal standing. I get it. We can sometimes get so blinded by a deal or an opportunity that we don't actually look at the facts. A lack of scrutiny about the people and the companies that we associate with in business can affect our reputation with clients, the public, or other businesses that want to do business with us. As a small business, we will want to look at the following checks to become part of your operations and create processes regardless of the size of the other party. Just because a business is bigger than yours doesn't mean you won't want to do some checks on them. If you have more resources, the process is handy not just for partners, but also for key employees, potential investors, and customers. Let's keep it simple for now though. Whether or not you trust the other party, understanding a little bit more about them and having a background understanding about who and what you're dealing with is super important. Although you may not dedicate too many resources to this process, mainly because we don't have that many resources, you will want to complete this process for those contracts, especially with bigger businesses, that could cause substantial financial or reputational damage to your business if something goes wrong. When a contract is valuable to you, it carries a particularly high risk. So it's important for you to understand more about the person that you're entering into the agreement with. Once you have the full legal entity name of the person or the entity you're going to deal with, we recommend incorporating these checks and asking some or all of the following questions. Make sure you make a note of your findings, and if any serious issues come up, then ask more questions, dig deeper, be prepared to ask the other party about them. So let's start. Number one, go and meet the person in person. It's not always possible, but where it is possible, make every effort to see the whites of their eyes. Meet them at their offices, ideally. Get them to take you on a tour, introduce you to key people. This allows you to get a real understanding about what is actually happening in their business and to authenticate their team members and where they are based. Two, check their website. Check their website for the legal entity name. Make sure that you note any key individuals affiliated with the company. And if there are people who have provided references, maybe ask them for a little bit more information or speak to them through LinkedIn. Three, check on Google. It's really obvious. Google key members for bad press or complaints. It's not foolproof. since people can write whatever they choose to write on the internet. But if you see too many complaints or bad press, it will give you a chance to understand what at least their online reputation is like. You can also address these issues to them face to face and see how they justify any issues or complaints that have come up. And it will also get you to see how they handle issues and complaints. Number 4, you can get so much information from social media. So check their social media, including their LinkedIn. Review the background of any key personnel on the team and the business itself. Here you're just looking for consistency and to make sure that certain things that matter to you in the business are consistent. You might want to look at previous employees. Sometimes this is a sensible thing anyway to do before you meet them for the first time, so it shows that you've actually taken an interest in their business. And you can address any glaring inconsistencies face to face. 5, check Companies House if it is an English company. companieshouse.gov.uk, go to Find Companies Information, and you can check information on the company, the directors, and you can check Disqualified Directors Register. You can also then later check to see whether the company is solvent, and we'll discuss that later. These checks will allow you to see whether the directors involved with this company have any other companies, whether they've previously worked in companies that have closed down. It is particularly important to see whether any key employees or directors have been disqualified. This would suggest that they have been involved in a company that has failed, and perhaps it suggests that they didn't manage their obligations appropriately. But at worst, it may mean that they've been involved in something immoral or illegal. Then we look at insolvency or solvency. An insolvent company is an individual or a company that can't pay its debts when due. If someone is likely to owe you money at any point, then you will want to check their creditworthiness, or at a minimum, you'll want to confirm that they are solvent at the point you enter into that relationship. A large business is not going to be an individual or a sole trader. But just for completeness here, I'm going to suggest that if you do get into business with an individual or a sole trader, check that they aren't bankrupt. You can go to insolvencydirect.biz.gov.uk and check there. For a limited company or a PLC, you can check on Companies House. If you or your finance team are hyper-organized, you may want to check this every quarter, so you can check that clients, suppliers, partners are still afloat and make sure that you actually will get paid. For corporates, this is less likely to be a problem, but don't just assume that if a big business is bigger than yours, that it's going to be solvent all the time. Keep an eye out. Think mostly if your invoices are starting to be outstanding for a long period of time, or if they start asking for longer payment terms, then it might be a good time to double check. If that is the case and it appears that a client is going to become insolvent during the course of your relationship, you will want to act fast. We don't deal in this video with non-payment, but we do address it in our other courses. Number 7, the London Gazette. Check at london-gazette.co.uk that there are no winding up petitions, administrators or liquidators appointed for the company. Number 8, regulation. Do you expect that company to be regulated or members of a particular body? Check with that appropriate body. This could be an industry body that you are a member of as well. They may have a badge on their website that suggests they are a member. Check the register and make sure that is the case. And number 9, in order to reduce the likelihood of fraud and money laundering issues, professional organisations are obliged by law to do extra checks. So they request copies of passports or photo identification and proof of address to confirm that the person they're dealing with, usually the director of the company, is genuinely the person that they think they are. Even if you're not a professional service organisation, in some cases you may still want to request this sort of information if it feels appropriate, and probably only for non-corporates. You'll want to play it by ear. And 10, finally, an important check to make is to work out where in the world they're actually based. Looking at where another party, whether it's a client, a service provider or partner, is actually located is often a neglected part of due diligence, and it can support you to understand the risk of any agreement. Looking at where people are based allows you to highlight potential risks and get a better understanding of who you're dealing with and therefore the risks involved. In most agreements, the details of the parties are the first thing that you actually see. So it will say ABC Limited, registered at 123 Address Road and incorporated in England and Wales with a company number just afterwards. This wording provides us with valuable information about that party, but it is not often considered fully. So why is it important? It seems like an obvious question to ask, but when things go wrong, there is nothing more frustrating than only having an email address and a telephone number for a business that totally ignores you, owes you money, or has work to complete. Therefore, it is important to get a system in place to ensure that you find out the actual address of the other business you deal with in advance. The registered address of a company is usually at the beginning or at the notices provision of the agreement. Although formal legal notices can be sent to the registered address of a company, sometimes the registered offices may just be a mailing address, which will not give you access to someone face-to-face when things go wrong. Therefore, find out in advance if the company has a physical location, an office or a principal place of business. If they are a key supplier, go and visit them. If you're given a PO box or a mailbox address, and I've seen it happen, a website address as the address for notices, then make further inquiries. Ideally, attend their offices in person, or at a minimum, do a check on Google online, particularly if the party is based abroad. Finally, if you are tech savvy, I'm told that you may be able to check where the IP address points to. And if it doesn't point to the country that you expect it to be based, like if the company is supposed to be in the US and it says Russia or China, then it may not be legitimate. This is less of a problem with larger companies, but worth noting if you're dealing with people over the internet only. Some of you are probably thinking, do I actually need to do all of these checks? The answer is no, you don't. Many people get away perfectly without actually having this information to start with. But the higher the risk of the contract, the more important it is to look at these facts and details. You will want to make the decision on how likely is the relationship to break down? How well do I know this person? How much trust has already been created with this entity? For example, if this is a one-off relationship with a large corporation like Google for a product that hundreds of businesses use with a very low cost and low interaction with them, then a check may be totally irrelevant. So that comes to the end of this video, which sets out the due diligence process to complete before you start looking at negotiating an agreement. Join us for our other videos, which sets out the preparation to go into before the negotiation and working out your risk.